insane. Black child, please stay in your lane. We live for pleasure and pain. I pray for power and rain. I dream too big, I'm insane. Black child, please stay.
I got a call and I got a target. I'll finish off what I started. I ain't bothered by any means. The nigga lover, a gimmick under a trigger. Brother niggas dropping balls, I'm dropping bars. A singer lover. I know you watching, be honest, and you're appalled that I'm modest. You're too involved and it's obvious you are claw. I'm Killmonger mentally. I am your father. Now let the teacher preach. I ain't gon' sit and act like you ain't just a Jesus piece. Mentally finger fuck you both sides. I'm ambidextrous. That means I use my left and right in case you lost the message. I'm super sane and I'm mental cane and I'm too insane. Snapping on my veins like I got a fiend. I'm untamed. Real niggas beside me cause I ain't spoiling my character. Diamond in the rough, Bugs Bunny dealer for carrots. I'm dope with the nosy niggas who's supposed to be chosen niggas. Floating across the border, remote from these hopeless niggas. Yeah. Better put respect on my name or you'll be a spectacle. I see a rapper, you see a dame. I'll cancel your local idol. Why the fuck would you call me FMC? Posing for all your posters and posting all your emotions. Endorsing all of the ignorance. Pouring out all the poison. I'm here to remind you we're at the brink of an oak season. Mental celibate, don't give a fuck. This woke season. Intricate lies told in the tales of broken souls. Intimate eyes locked and embraced by cold shoulders. I'd rather be blind if I'm in a lane where the world orders the side of me. World orderly, honestly, I decline. That is what I decide. No lions, so fuck your pride. These cats have got me twisted. I'm Tiger, but not the guy. Flyer than Mordecai, suck drier than Marceline. Probably past the part where I'm polished and on a dream. Abolishing all assumptions, appalling for all your grudges. I'm calling for all the monsters, slaughter up all the judges. I'm laughing because I'm fucked up and I got a weird mind.
Check the email I think I sent you the logo.
Hurt me and lost pride. Hurt me and lost time. Questioning his career. Hurt me and asked why the fuck is this bitch here? To show you your shit is easy. Surviving on mediocre. You gotta adapt or die. I'm tired of all you jokers. I'm done. Ha! Shit was funny before I started, wasn't it? Been doing this shit since I was 9 years old. I ain't gonna hear from you niggas. Jimu manyaos a funjin. Otherwise, this is just the tip of the iceberg. Tired of all you jokers. I said done.
I think I'm big, bitch. One nation.
Still cold, still flow.
Wolf on the track.
This little verse of mine, it's gon' shine, it's gon' burn a bit. You think that you're cool, but you're first to crack under pressure, I swear. I put my heart in a cooler box, swear. This little verse of mine, it's gon' shine, it's gon' burn a bit. You think that you're cool, but you're first to crack under pressure, I swear. You break with the ice spit frost with the bites, deep with the ice, mess with the guys, temperature drops at the price. When I show what I got in store, we don't play games no more. Ish, I'm trying to reign as king, but they say I'm too cold, so it might snow. Blood type negative, oh, they really don't know. We putting our hearts in the cooler boxes, chilling in there like castle light. You feeling it right, you feeling the cold, you feeling the cold, you feeling the cold. Cold to the veins, white blood cells, snowflakes, ice in my eyes, I'm eyes or the teardrops. I'm underqualified, I spit it below 0 degrees. You taking the L, I handle it easy. Your flow is orange, you paying the least. Whenever I speak, I need a release. I only trap on J beats. I need a bit of buzz, please. You'll never be this cold, even if you were snowman copies. I need a cool down, I need a freeze. I need at least one person that needs to show me that they catching up with this cold. I need at least one person that needs to show me that they catching up with this cold.
Ice cold, how your heart beat. Why you always trying to stop me? Control C with the copy. The game needs a better font, please. Write me off, it's okay, bro. Old school, so I lay low. Pushing work for the pesos. Got keys like I'm Pablo. Got keys like Gustavo. Got cut the convo. Dropping verses like it's gospel. On the road, you can't stop this. 9 to 5 with no office. Streezy told me trust the process. Late nights never stopping. Hey, I woke up early just to try and get it. Grim Reaper, how I make a killing. Staring in my own movie. Hey, all of y'all just another Krillin. Bring the heat, cause I'm straight from the north. Wolf from the east came with the cause. This ain't to WC. I ain't collecting your calls. Only talk blessings when I'm with the Lord. Only talk hits when I hop in the booth. Holla at Achi, the cash in the booth. Woo. Bring the heat straight to Josie. Ay. Call me Miguel, they adore me. I'm trying to retire like 40. You trying to retire at 40. Ay. The game need a lot of synergy. Frostbite, they ain't feeling me. Having talks with the embassy. Call me Triple X, they can't look at me. Cold shoulder for my demons. Cold shoulder for the heathens. Dante with the heat shit. Lose my mind like I'm Felix. Beat these beasts like a blacksmith. Fuck a mask out on catfish. Stay on these flows like a captain. I'm like ETV on a Sunday. All I bring is the action. All I bring is the action. This ain't no camera, no acting. This is real life and you don't get no practice.
You tried everything, you tried everything, you tried everything, but you don't get love. You tried everything, you tried everything, you tried everything, but you don't get love. But you don't get love. You don't get love, but you don't get love. Oh, you don't get love. I have a question for you, love. How do we go about mending a broken heart? What do we do for love? What do we do for love? Question for you, love. How do we go about mending a broken heart? What do we do for love? You tried everything. You tried everything, but you don't get love.
Ones that I'm sure.
You tried everything. You tried everything. You tried everything, but you don't get love. But you don't get love. But you don't.
Oh shit, that's V1.
But you don't get love. You I have a question for you, love. How do we go about mending a broken heart? What do we do for love? What do we do for love? I have a question for you, love. How do we go about mending a broken heart? What do we do?
ที่ยังยากผมยังไม่รู้วิทยาศาสตร์ใช่ไหม Where this little light of mine, let's go shine. What you got about? Hey yo, you know who that is?
Who's that?
Take a guess.
Aline.
Yeah. Oh shit, man. Oh, come please. Some of the pictures I've seen.
You should call me. When you in pain, you should call me. Namilena, hiku uamina, and indiro uamina, uru utaka. When you in trouble, you should call me. When you in pain, you should call me. Namilena, hiku uamina, indiro uamina, uru utaka.
track this.
그 10초 전체 탈락. 지금 된다네?
Darling, I'm into longer. Lover, stand beside me. Let's get away, yeah, 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 yeah. Let's get away, yeah, yeah, yeah. My darling, I'm into longer. My lover, stand beside me. Let's get away, yeah, 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 yeah. Let's get away, yeah, 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 yeah. My darling, I'm into longer. My lover, stand beside me. Let's get away, yeah, 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 yeah. Let's get away, yeah, 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 yeah. Zubalambiru yanga kate ertuwe. Asiya zote morao zisashome. Narawa kuno baby ndingachira.
It's full.
Zimbandira, Simba Sambiru Nabona Chiri. My darling, I'm Mutuanga, my lover.
Oh, wow.
Let's get away.
I think we might do it. We might go in.
Let's get away, yeah, 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 yeah. My darling, I'm Mutuanga.
Alright.
Yeah, we're about to
We can
go.
do that.
Let's get away, yeah,
Cool, let me just check final tunes.
Baby,
away. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you. Can you hear me?
Away. Yeah, I can hear you clearly. I think we can
Word.
go.
Word. I mean, you're gonna have to check the Facebook chat and whatnot.
Away.
Respond.
Away.
I'll try and check YouTube chat.
Cool, we can go. We live, man. How you doing, my G?
Hey man, me, I'm too nice, too nice. It's a pity we're indoors, but apart from that, no complaints whatsoever, man. G.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. I'm good on my side. So yeah, man. I just wanted to have a conversation with you. I've been jamming the playlist. Very, very dope playlist.
Yeah.
Very dope
Word. I'm
playlist.
glad you like it.
Yeah. So I've been on that playlist. So let's talk a little bit about the playlist. You know, how did you come about making a playlist?
Man, yeah, it's weird, but like, I'm one who enjoys listening to music, and I found that I've got this knack where I only listen to about 80% essay content, and from that 80% of essay content,
Yeah.
most of it anyway is pretty much um, it's underground music. It's people who might be established, might not be established, but at the same time don't necessarily have um, the same clout as what an AK Reese, in that ball game.
Oh
And then
well.
as you're actually checking that out, I noticed that about 90% of them were actually independent. They were indie. There were people who, out of their own pockets, were actually trying to get this musical content to us, trying to make sure that they could give us something that we love. And obviously, the genres were vastly different, but we found that it was the same hustle, the same drive across the board. So I decided, why not actually put all these people on one playlist where, if someone had to stumble upon say an artist such as Chris Black, for instance,
Oh
you
wow.
could possibly have two or three more artists that you could actually find on the playlist, which might be to your liking. And even if they're not to your liking, the next person you recommend that to might actually find someone else who they actually like on that playlist.
Oh wow.
The only pity about it is, obviously, playlists need to be kept fresh. They need to keep changing. So because of that, we always check inside, see um, you know, not necessarily which song is doing better or not, but try and keep it fresh. I've always got this policy where um, when a song is on the playlist, if it's a really old song, I'm gonna keep it on there for maybe a month.
Oh wow.
But if it's a fairly new song, it's gonna have quite some time on that playlist so that can at least get to more people and so forth. And I try and rotate it as much as possible, but obviously when indie artists actually drop some sort of project of that nature, play through it. And if it sounds like something, relatively decent, we put up on the playlist, and that's it.
Oh well. So how do you find this music, man? Because I was listening. There's some gems in there, man. How do you find all of this music?
Oh, all right. Yeah, it's weird because obviously my friends, are people I've actually met and had conversations with and so forth, and you get to know a lot more about their music, and you get to actually understand what it's about and so forth. Other people, to be fair, you learn from firstly the people that you conversate with, and secondly, there's a lot of there's a lot of platforms, funny enough, for underground artists where you might watch something like let's say verse of the year or Stogie T's thing. You see a verse that's pretty dope, and when you actually go and check that artist out yourself, you find out that all right, man, it's actually pretty dope. So from that point on, you kind of find these hidden gems in between. Besides that, some of the artists I actually do work with, so it's easy for me to then figure out which ones are my favorites, if that's the case, and put them up. A lot of the time, though, to be fair, my favorites don't actually even make the playlist. My favorites are hidden away somewhere else. And then, I mean, I've also got people's playlists who, excuse me, out of the blue, someone would actually tell me, yo, go listen to TDK ZW. He's got like some dope song, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And, you go, you actually listen to it, and, yo, there's some heat. So there's no way you can say no to that. And a lot of people then say to me, how do you pick the songs?
Yeah.
I don't necessarily pick them. To be fair, if there's a project that's out and it sounds dope, it gets on the playlist. I mean, it varies from pop to R&B to soul to dance to hip hop, rap, and it's always nice to actually see that even though a song isn't something that you listen to all the time, it's something that is a hit across the board. And hopefully one day someone will actually look at that playlist and say, yeah, here lies our future hits.
Oh, well, no, no, definitely, definitely. And the thing is, when I look through the playlist and I actually followed some of the artists, actually all of the artists, like you were saying, most of them are unsigned, if not all of them. So
Yeah,
let's, because most of the things that we interested in here at the state of indie is how. So I hear you have relationships with most of those people. So how you seeing? How are they
yeah.
maneuvering the indie market? How is that going?
Yeah, okay. Now, that's a tougher question than most because people are different,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. I wanna hear that.
First things first, yeah. First things first. The indie market or the indie industry, if you want to put it that way,
Yeah, yeah,
it's always something that's lucrative, and people always feel as if it's something that they want to jump into. It's something that they want to do because it gives them creative freedom.
yeah,
It gives them the saying power. The buying power. And if you build up all of that on your own repertoire, it makes you a better candidate if ever you want to sign, or if ever you want to go mainstream and so forth. But unfortunately, what people fail to understand is how much goes into it.
I will.
When I think of the people that I work with, for one song to actually be done, actually get out into the industry, the amount of goes behind that one song alone is it's crazy, from the PR to the marketing to the photo shoots to making sure that you've got an album cover that actually makes sense, and then still deciphering, is it a single, is it part of an album, who do I give it to, where do I play it, do I just give it to everyone, do I make it exclusive, how do I make it hit. I've had people who drop a song and within a month or two they're like, it didn't have what I expected it to have, so I'm taking it away. And it can work, but at the same time, you sit there and you think to yourself, is this exactly what the people want? Because you might catch one person, you might catch sometimes you might even get anyone at all, but it's one of those things where they need to understand that the indie industry is not it's not easy,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
to put it that way. It's one of the hardest things to actually do, and even with that being said, I've seen people do it and do it really well.
yeah, yeah.
Shout out to people like Zoo, who has been indie for about 10 years.
Yeah, you been.
And from that specifically, I've seen big gains, big changes. And then you've got artists like my fiance,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
who uh, just one verse in the year, and she's fairly new, but at the same
Congrats
time,
on
the
that
drive
one.
that these people
Congrats.
thank you very much. The drive that these people have, is insane, and it shows you that if you do put the work in, you'll get out what you get from the industry. So I'm glad the playlist is there, and I'm glad that the indie industry is actually really strong. But at the same time, you always have to warn people that it's not as easy as what they think.
Cool.
I'm pretty sure you can atone for that yourself as an indie artist.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's saying it's hard. It's another thing. I think it needs you for you to have a strategy and a plan. Because at the end of the day, I feel like you're gonna have to work with people, which is why we're having these conversations, right? So I think for me, it's just understanding
Yeah,
how to maneuver. You check what I mean. So for me, when I look at it, the hard work has to come in. You have to work extra hard, because if you think about it, I know you can talk about this. If you're thinking about an indie artist, they don't have anybody who's gonna be going to radio station and submitting songs. They have to do that themselves if they don't hire somebody to do that, right? They
yeah,
don't have nobody who's gonna go to publications and making sure that everything is being publicized. They have to do that themselves. They have to promote themselves. They have to go on Facebook and Instagram and do all of these things themselves. So for me, I feel like that part there, a lot of indie artists do understand it, but we have a number of other indie artists who don't understand that. As an indie artist, you're probably wearing close to 75 hats. That's a lot. Before we even get to your accounting and making sure that you're getting the
yeah,
money.
yeah,
So that's how I feel though. So how have you been, finding that with the new school where we have like your distributors like DistroKid, how they're accounting and everything and releasing music? Has it been easy? Is it easy? Does it work?
Oh, yeah. I think it's actually good to see these new aggregators coming out. A lot of people assume that to be an indie artist means that you're going to spend a whole lot of money doing this and doing that.
Yeah,
That's not
yeah,
the case. You know, I mean, if there is talent there, and if you do have something that will bang, it'll always get found, whether or not you're the type of person who is forceful, DJ Smooth.
yeah, yeah.
I don't even want to say forceful. Um, I'm gonna say genius, because there's a difference between a genius and someone who just forces something on
Yeah, that
you.
man is a genius.
If you're someone who, yeah, if you're exactly, if you're someone who doesn't have the guile, or the silver tongue to actually get these things across to people, what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to work hard. I believe that everyone has a hit buried in them somewhere,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
a lot of the time, what I find with indie artists is that they try so hard so many times that people actually even miss that hit. You know, I can go into people's repertoires and listen to the music and catalogs that they actually have, and you find that they've got hits that were so appropriate for that time that weren't figured out because they just didn't put in that extra 10% that they had to,
Is it?
and
Sorry, man.
and that's where
Sorry to cut you
we
there.
start to lose the plot where,
Is it? Is it? Is it?
yeah.
Is it extra 10%, or is it market thing? Is it the fact that as an indie artist, it's hard to get people to actually listen to your stuff, or is it maybe you have to put more effort?
I don't think it's hard to actually get people to listen to your stuff. A lot of people consume a lot of different things. If we look at the current market right now, I think there's a lot of artists that are actually out there. And there's a lot of music that actually bangs, but at the same time, there's a lot of diversity from that music. The mere fact that you've got a genre like Amapiano, which came in out of Norway, and introduced the new wave, and at the peak of its powers, you had someone like Elaine come out with this soulful R&B that we haven't had since the 2000s, and she bangs. But a week later, you have another kid in Kostatich who's got this crazy hip hop, which is different, but isn't necessarily off the bat as to what's happening, and that all pops off. It shows that the industry is ready for any type of change. The difference is, as an artist yourself, if you actually put in that 110%, and that's why I said 10% extra, now 110% into music and into your craft
Yeah,
creatively,
yeah.
you also need to look at obviously the business side, and it will pop off. That's how I
Mm.
feel anyway. You know.
No. So this is the thing for me, with everything. Like I said, as an indie artist, it's very to find people who are skilled, who are willing to work with you is challenging, and to have a team to consult to have a team,
Yeah.
especially if you're not gonna have the money as the motivation. So for me, no,
Yeah.
I know you're a sound engineer. You do a lot of mixes. I've listened to Zoo. You've done a lot of mixes. How important is it for you to kind of like give these skills to the artists and the indie to make sure that they stay, they have the quality sound? But how do you find it that we can as skilled people or engineers or any type of creative person out there, how do we maneuver this industry in terms of like helping each other and making sure that we can create these teams?
Yeah. You're 100% right there. I always challenge my artists. I don't necessarily have them, or show them how to actually do a certain thing, but
Yeah,
it's more about the quality control. Once you work with someone, and you actually make them understand that certain things, it just won't work, and they always need to keep an ear out for something else. They don't have to be the perfect engineer. They don't know how to mix. They don't have to know how to do all of these things. There's always someone out there who can actually do something that you're looking for. I've
yeah.
always said it. And if you can't do something, guys, the internet is free, literally, and you can pretty much figure out how to do anything on it without any form of education, anything of that nature.
uh,
And as much as that's being said, it's always nice as well to actually have someone direct you to where you need to look out for something. I
Yeah,
think that might be the difficult
yeah,
part. But apart from that, it's not important to me for the artist to know how to do it.
yeah. Because to add on that, for me, what I've experienced myself was you can go and look for the information. There's tons of information. It just gets to a point where it's just too much information for yourself to actually do all of those things. I don't know. Maybe other people can come up with better ways or better
Yeah,
strategies. It just becomes too much because while I'm thinking about a mix of a song, I was supposed to be sending an IRC code to a radio station, and I forgot because I need to give somebody my PayPal. You check what
yeah,
I mean? So
yeah.
yeah, for me, I feel like yeah, it gets to that one.
See, that's the other thing. I mean, yeah. I mean, it happens all the time because one of my boys, he actually dropped the track 2 weeks ago, I think. Space,
Yeah, yeah, space.
He's always been someone who actually understands how to mix. He understands how to master. He understands how to record and everything. And he actually does it by himself now. But for a very long time, he felt as if he wasn't confident enough to actually do it himself. And because of that, it almost knocks you as an artist, and you feel like all you need to do is focus on art. You start to forget that the creative process, if you can shape that creative process technically yourself, you could always come up with something that makes sense for you.
Yeah,
And I remember even when we were working, I mean, we'd have tracks where he'd record something, and when it's time for mixing, he'd always have a creative difference on some. Now, but I wanted a little bit like this, a little bit like that, and that does work. I hear it, it's perfect. However, when you're an artist and you know how to do it, and you bring that towards the person that's helping you, get the overall sound that you were trying to achieve in that context, it's easier for that person to then relate to what you want. I mean, I believe in having conversations, understanding
yeah, yeah,
from the get-go. Okay, cool. If we start and we're recording a whole track, what is the end goal? And from that end goal, how do we actually get to that end goal? What can you bring to the table?
yeah,
What can I bring to the table? What else do we actually need, across the board?
yeah.
So that's the difference. When you're indie, you don't actually have access to
Yeah.
all of those things
And
in terms of the touch of a button.
I hear you talking about space. Just one point that you made there.
Yeah,
Do you feel like? Cause personally, I feel like as an artist, especially not even just indie, general artist, having a little bit of knowledge of how you want your sound, even if it's not technical, just in terms of you explaining how you want to sound, is important. Because then you can lead the person because it's still your art. I feel like that's important for
yeah.
artists. What's your view on that one?
Oh yeah, definitely. Um, to tell you the truth, whenever I work with an artist and they can't tell me what they want, I run. Like I run away because that's when you butt heads, and you end up being the person that gets called the egomaniac when you think of that nature. Because now when you say to them, oh no, I want to add a little bit of reverb, they're like, now you're using these big words that I don't understand, and I don't understand it. Like just make it work. And I feel as if just the basic knowledge, and for technical people out there who are working with creators, I believe that it's their responsibility as well to teach their people. Like when you talk about reverb, if that's the case, or something as simple as that, at least explain to the artist what that is and so forth. And artists themselves need to absorb that as well, because if you don't absorb that, the next time someone else says, you're just sitting there saying, I know that word, I just don't know what it is. So it's almost like a give and take, where both sides have to kind of feed each other so that we know what they're talking about. Because the same thing on the technical side, when an artist says to you, I'd like a little bit more warmth and a little bit more air, if you don't understand what that means creatively, it also hampers what you can and cannot do technically. So it is quite important. I feel.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So you know, with still in the same conversation, I think the elephant in the room is at the end of the day, I feel like a lot of creatives we wanna make money. You know, um, we need we want the education to understand how as an indie person I can make money. So for me, um, the industry has been very very open. At the same time, it requires you to do double the work. You check what I mean? you can be, for me, what I found is you can be two people. You can be a person who you're gonna starve your fans, and then your fans are gonna be so hungry when you release, you're gonna make up for all the time that you didn't have material circulating, or you had the same material circulating. Or you can be the person who's gonna give your fans a lot of music and always circulating and collects those cents. You know what I mean? For me, I found that out of the people that I've met, both formulas do work if you understand who you're selling the product to, if you understand who's listening to your music and how you're distributing your music. How are you finding that? Like how you getting the music to the people? How you
Yeah,
know?
yeah. Look, I believe in both, but to be fair, when you're talking about an independent artist, it's always about understanding where you started and where you are in terms of phase of your music. People hear the term independent artist or indie artist, the first thing they think about is, oh yeah, that means that it's someone who just popped off 2 months ago, and they're trying to give me a song.
Of
And
course.
that's not the case, because a lot of the time you find that it's someone who's been in the industry for 10 years, and in those 10 years, they just don't feel as if their music needs to change creatively because they've got a message to tell them, they're doing it a specific way.
Yeah.
And when you find someone like that, they understand how the music industry works.
Yeah.
And I find that a lot of those people, if you take something or a page out of any of their books, you'll always notice that there's always something to listen to.
Yeah.
When there's always something to listen to, I can critique you better. Not everyone like what you do,
Yeah.
and that's it, straight up. However, if someone is willing to give you an ear and willing to actually listen to a project that you might have out, at least give them enough to actually make a decision about it.
Yeah.
If it's not from that album, let them hear what's inside.
Yeah.
I
So
mean, I can switch and even say that about artists that are mainstream. I know for a fact that I haven't listened to Kanye since graduation, because it's a different type of person after that.
he's a
And it's
billionaire,
exactly
man.
the same.
He's a billionaire.
Hey man, it's a fact.
He's a billionaire.
I know. Congrats to Kanye, but like, I don't listen to the billionaire Kanye.
Same here, same here. I'm a more late graduation, all of those old one through the wire. I'm that
Yeah.
Kanye fan.
Mm.
You know what I mean? So like I hear you. I hear that conversation. You know what I'm interested in a lot is it's again maneuvering the industry, just making sure that I know you've been doing a lot of things and here and there and managing artists. So how easy it is to approach for me, because I've been finding it difficult to kind of like put my music on radio. Um, I'm sending the emails, I'm talking to compilers. It gets played here and there, but I don't know. Maybe my music is not that dope. So let me just see if you have some other ways. How
Nah. Yeah, it's funny you say that. I don't think it's the music. You know, it, it's a weird thing. Like, the music plays a big factor, because if your music is radio friendly and it appeals to that market,
yeah,
great.
yeah,
But even for people whose music actually appeals to that market, they still don't get on radio. I mean, I was surprised to listen. I was listening to 5FM the other day, and they had just started playing Elaine. It's been about 6 months, I think, now.
yeah.
And it makes you wonder that in the 5 months, whilst everyone else was actually playing the music off Apple Music and actually seeing the banners and seeing the fact that she actually is out there, what was radio doing? And when you start to look at how the radio gets monitored and what they're actually playing, it's because radio stations end up playing playlists. And the playlists that they're not playing playlists that actually encourage any growth in any artist. They're playing playlists like Zanzi hits and top Zanzi tracks and so forth. And if
Hmm.
your track by some miracle ends up on that playlist, you get radio airplay. I mean, we go through the struggle of actually sending music to radio stations and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
bombarding playlist managers and so forth. But a lot of them will tell you the entire time that if your music isn't banging, it's got a slot maybe for 30 minutes, where 2 to 3 million people who are indie artists are actually vying for 10 slots in the top 10 to actually get their music played. That's where the issue is for me, and it's something that does need to change, because yes, radio has changed. Yes, they do play 90% local right now, but the 90% local they play is the same song over and over again, and that just shows you that there is no diversity. All they're doing is they're taking the hits that people already know and they're just playing it across a radio station. I
I
never thought I'd live through the day where I hear an amapiano or house music on 5 FM, and that's exactly what's happening.
Wow. So, you touch back again, coming back to the playlist. Do you feel like playlists are the new radio? Because I see a lot of people discover music from playlists. Playlist is like their thing when it comes to discovering new music. Do you feel like playlists kind of like are gonna overtake radio, or they've already overtook radio in terms of giving people music and exposing the music to the people?
To be fair, yes, 100%. The only difference is that now with playlists, it's not the same as before. When you thought about a playlist before, you had a playlist for a certain occasion. So you sit there, you be on some kid's birthday party, and you get a collection of songs that actually work for kids' birthday parties.
Yeah.
Now it's catered more towards an individual who does something completely left field. So now if you type in gym playlist, you've got people who are giving you what they personally prefer in the gym, and then you've got that same expert opinion that has always been in terms of this is what gym music should actually sound like and so forth.
Yeah.
So because of that, it is much harder to actually be some sort of playlist curator or find the correct playlist for music. However, I believe that if you're targeting, a certain mood or you're targeting a certain theme, when you have a playlist, it's easier for you to actually encounter different types of music, or music that you might not have actually known that you liked, or even music that you heard but didn't know what it was from.
Mm.
You know, um, it's sad to say, but like I don't know who Billie Eilish was for the longest time. However, I could sing songs from like I think 4 or 5 different songs of hers. I just didn't know who it
What
was,
was? Yeah.
and it just shows you that it's the same as radio. We just listen to a song, you move across and so forth. But now with this playlist living, it makes it easier because now I can actually say, oh wait, that's Billie Eilish. Oh, okay, cool. I guess I know who that is.
Fresh. Yeah, same. Still on the playlist thing, you talked about the mood, like making the song for the mood. I've realized that most of the streaming services are moving away from genre specific playlists. They're moving into more mood playlists, like chill Fridays, after work Mondays, and all of those things. What do you think is driving that? Because I feel like for me, it's taking away. Because I feel like
Google, Google straight up, because and when I say Google, it sounds weird, but
yeah,
Google, because when you think about how people actually search for things today, it's very targeted. No one actually says, um, typing in, I'm looking for vendor rap that sounds a little nostalgic. No one actually types that in. Everyone just sits there and says, I'm feeling a little bit nostalgic and I feel like I'm homesick, you know. And based on that, you're gonna get a whole variation on different things. So instead of me saying, I want some hip hop that sounds a little bit sad for a Monday, if I say I want some sad music, whether it's hip hop, R&B, soul, or rock, or anything of that nature, they're gonna give me something that's targeted to the way that I feel. And when I feel like that, even if it's a genre I don't listen to, I'm gonna give it an ear because it actually connects to the whole music. And so I speak about a themed playlist and playlists that are more mood driven. The last genre specific playlist I listened to was um, a playlist by Pody the DJ. Shout out.
oh, well, shout out to Pody.
And he had the Sandela playlist,
Yeah, I
and
have that
I
playlist
listened
too.
to that because yeah, I listened to that because as a house DJ, he had moved away from the house he was making to actually put spotlight on Amapiano, and that made more sense for me.
Yeah,
You know?
I
But
won.
in terms of actually going to Apple Music and just looking for an Amapiano playlist, nah.
I won. Oh well, oh well. So um Anderson Entertainment, I think you guys give for those who don't know, and thank you for everybody who's watching right now. Thank you for everybody who's joined us. For those who
Shout
don't
out.
know, founder of Anderson Entertainment, game enthusiast, as you can see with the background, solely by Andy. For those who know, so you guys you don't really sign artists, as far as I know. You can correct me if I'm wrong. You don't really sign
Nah.
artists, but what do you actually do? What how do you actually help these artists? How do you what is it that you offer?
Yeah. So we're not experts, A and B. I can't give you something that isn't there. That's the way the world is. However, through the journeys that I've made with a lot of my associates and people who are actually in the industry that have actually seen things happen, we figured that we could bridge the gap that a lot of people didn't actually go into. That gap being taking the artist and making the artist their own independent label before they actually get signed or anything of that nature. By understanding how the music business works from the
Yeah.
creative standpoint, from the technical standpoint, from the business standpoint, they could take all of that information and move forward. You know. So what we did, we had a trial run with a great artist called Lilo, where we
Oh yeah.
basically gave her a full package. We gave it almost every single service that we could actually put out there to actually see, how it could be received from the artist standpoint. And what I found is that, the artist always wanted more. But the one thing
Of
you
course.
always had to kind of train them to understand was that you're actually in control of your own destiny.
Yeah.
So what we're doing is we're showing you, we're highlighting where the path is that you should take or that you can take. It's
Mm.
almost like giving you multiple choice with your own career path, and you're the one who can actually pick option A, B, or C. So
Okay.
we don't sit there and tell you, oh no, you need to do this or you need to do that. But we say to you that, look, your numbers are down. If you actually performed a little bit more, it would help boost A, B, C, and D, and this is where you might want to go. And then when we look at insights, we can even say to you that, oh wait, you're thinking of Pain as a single. Now I think Lost should be a single because people seem to actually like that the most.
Okay.
We try and look at how you're doing as an artist, and give it back to you so we can actually make you realize that, look, you are dope, but in a different way to what you actually think.
Mm, okay.
And obviously being technical, we also have to offer the technical support across the board. So it always feels better, for the artist not to think about all the technical stuff and be very creative, but then they also start thinking about the business. So you kind of force them to do each one across the board.
Okay, cool. So yeah, I hear that's dope. That's dope. So you guys basically link the artists to all of these creative people to help them,
Yeah,
photographers, videographers,
yeah,
fashion designers, all
yeah.
of these people, and then they decide if they want that and how they want it. And you have a hub of people that you know in the industry who have these skills, who can give those skills to those people.
Exactly.
That's dope. That's
So,
dope.
I watched a Netflix documentary about this weird guy called Clarence Avant.
Yeah,
No one knows who the guy is.
yeah.
But at the end of the day, that's what I want us to be. I want us to be that melting pot where you walk in, you're like, I need someone for a photo shoot, for a
And you can
maternity
get
shoot.
it.
Right? I'm like, oh yeah, yeah, female, male. You can
Yeah.
get whoever you need and so forth and so forth.
So this is a hub of like a lot of creative people and just finding people
Yeah.
who are skilled. That's dope. That's dope. So I hear you talking about Lilo. How was the process? How was the process of from the beginning? Because I know I got involved in the project in the mixing stage and the mastering stage, but how was the
Yeah.
project? How did it come about? How did it you know what was the
I mean,
process?
with Lilo, it was easy and it was tough at the same time. So
Yeah.
she already had an established sound, and she knew the direction she wanted to go in. What we came in and did is we made sure was done firstly, and then once that technical was actually done, and it was in such a way that it was seamless. It was easy. We then spoke to a lot of producers she had worked with, producers she didn't work with, to see how much of the project could actually be done within a certain timeline. I mean, I think I made her write all of the songs in terms of lyrics and everything before a single beat was found.
Oh,
And then we set it down with like beat makers, and those certain beat makers that she just gravitated to because their style was like amazing and great for that specific thing. But then you found that there was certain songs where you actually had to have a completely different influence and so forth. And we found those beat makers for her as well. On top of that, when everything was obviously coming together in terms of the creative side of the music, we then found a whole bunch of photographers, and we did shoots. We ended up doing press kits and a little bit of marketing. We try to get radio interviews, and we got a fair few of those. We got some gigs, and this obviously stems from constant communication. You know,
oh,
if the artist wants to do more, they speak up, and you can give them more. If I see that you can do more without actually having to strain or stress yourself, we can also give you that. with Lila was hard because she was still studying, and because she was studying, it means that you can't go full blown music mode. You can't tell her to drop out of school. You can't tell her,
Yeah.
to actually change her lifestyle because nothing is guaranteed. As much as you are talented and the music speaks for itself, there's a lot more than just the creative side.
Yeah.
It's what I've been saying the entire time.
Just to cut you there a little bit.
Yeah.
You talked about, she was studying, and you sound like a person who takes education very, very important. How is it to get an education? It doesn't matter what kind of education, like street education, formal education, any type of
Yeah.
education. How important is that for you? If you're looking for an artist, for you, do you look at that?
Uh, yeah, I always look at how the person is individual.
Yeah.
I look at how they think, and smart is different across the board.
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
can have
Of
someone
course.
who's book smart, you can have someone who's street smart,
Yeah,
you can
yeah.
have someone who's music savvy, music smart. So I always look at the fact that if you can hold your own for your art, if you can tell me what you want for your art, if you can tell me that I am wrong, how I think, then I believe that's one of the first places we can actually start. No one in this industry is gonna tell you straight up that, oh, I like what you're doing and so forth, because you end up being, like, not to name drop, like, you end up being like certain labels where you're only known for doing something specific. You're not good at verses. You're not known for how you change things spicy. But at the same time, you you, you want to have a direction. You want to have a sense of understanding in terms of when you work with someone, they need to be able to actually tell you what doesn't appeal to them, and you guys need to be able to actually look at it across the board. So being intelligent enough to understand your music is cool. Now with the whole school thing, I I think that any form of education is good. Basic education, tertiary education. But I also think that if you make a decision to actually go study, you can't now decide out of the blue that, nah, I don't want to study anymore. I want to focus on music because that's going to make me money. Way too often we fall into this thing where people talk about like fast money.
Yeah.
They think that the next thing to blow, the next thing to boom. And yes, you could be the next thing to boom, you could be the next thing to blow. However, way too often I find that people end up dropping out completely out of whatever they do.
You know.
They don't move forward in their own
Yeah. So
in their own craft.
you
You
just,
know,
you just
and vice versa. You get people who then believe that actually I should leave this so that I can focus on my music.
yeah.
Now, when people say I must leave something to focus on my music, I expect you to focus on music. That is a decision that means that you're going to focus on the business side. You're going to focus on the technical. You're going to focus on
You're
the
gonna put in
marketing.
the work.
If you're focusing solely on the creative, yeah, you're going to put in the work. That's where that extra 10% comes from
Yeah.
in that context. And I know a lot of people who've done that.
Yeah.
However, if you sit there and you say to me that you want to focus on your music, yet there's no change in your 9 to 5, and you still seem like the same person I see every day.
Yeah.
I can't buy that. I feel like and excuse my French, that's a bullshit move. To be fair, you're just looking for an excuse.
Yeah. So when you were talking, I just had I was just thinking for the people who are tuned in right now. Thank you again for watching.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Thank you, guys.
my story with this guy, how we met. We met at this place. Some of you probably know the Academy of Sound Engineering. Shout out to the Academy of Sound Engineering. Um,
Pow, 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 pow.
so I was in my second year, and I liked things. I was a kid from a village who liked things, so I was always in places. And then we had this mentor of ours, Mr. Crystal Harting, who was the lecturer, so I was always with that guy, and I was in a live class. And the question was asked in
Yeah,
class. A question was asked in class, and nobody could answer the question in class. But I knew there were people who could answer the question in class,
yeah,
right? So Krista's like, okay, cool, you guys can't answer. Okay, cool, let's move on. And somebody who's on my right or left, I don't know which one is mine, was like, say, why don't we ask TP? I'm like, who is this now? I'm not here to be asked questions. I think that's when we met. And then from that day, I think because of just us being kids were excited, we started fiddling with a lot. Like when I came to Joburg, I remember when I came to ASC specifically, it was like a kid in a candy store, man. Like I just got excited. and
For real, yeah.
there wasn't a lot of us. When I say a lot of us, I'm saying people of color and that young doing what we were doing. So I remember you were doing gigs with like your Lyra, you were going on tour with Lyra, you did, like I can't even mention the stuff that you've done, sleeping under trucks and all of that. You know how I think it's about 10 years now you've been
Oh,
doing this.
yeah.
Yeah. So how? Because my journey, I'll tell you my journey.
Yeah.
My journey is fucked up. My journey is fucked up. Sorry for the language, but so what it is. So how's the journey been, man? How's the journey been?
Yo, I'm not explaining, man. Like, being a person of color in this country, especially, is it's always rough,
Yeah.
and um, a lot has changed. Look, a lot has changed, and I've seen it change myself. But back when we were actually trying to, get into the industry proper, there was maybe one or two people who actually believed in just looking at your skill and not looking at who you are or where you came from.
Yeah.
I mean, you're a village kid. I'm a township kid.
Yeah.
I'm used to hearing people say that I speak well because they can see that I'm from Soweto.
Yeah.
It never bodes well when you sit there and you're like, okay, but that's not just who I am. And for those 10 years, like I learned a lot. I did a lot of high profile gigs. I did a lot of really simple, I don't even know how to explain it, but
It's a
like
lot.
every gig was pretty much the same. Those experiences that were great that I learned from the big gigs, but the small gigs is where it dawned on me that there was a lot to be learned across the board from artists that were underground or artists that weren't necessarily known versus what you could already see from anyone at any big show. That's where I first fell in love with underground music. Working for artists that couldn't pay you, but you could actually see that, wow, man,
They're going somewhere.
there's a lot of talent here. We're actually going somewhere.
Yeah,
And it's
you you
always
were
funny.
you were involved in a kind of tourist career, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, man. It's funny, man. Like there was even like a nice period where the Nakane Torres, the Muffins,
Zoo.
the Liras and whatnot, where the Zoos. There's so many
Mm.
artists where you look at it and you're like, wow, man, I'm so glad that I actually touched each one of these people and we actually grew and so forth. Zebra and Giraffe, like I was a white boy, as well. So
Yeah.
it's some other bands in there. And it's always funny because when you do all of that, and you're that young, it doesn't actually, dwell on you that you're actually doing something great.
Yeah.
5 years later, you're like, wow, man, like the catalog is actually real,
Yeah, because
and you look back at it and you're like, it scares you sometimes to think to yourself that did I actually do
I
that?
did
I mean,
that.
I know you did like the 2010 kickoff concert.
Yeah,
So
it's
the other day, Krista spoke about it. Yeah, Krista spoke about it, and
I
you
completely
sit there and you're
forgot.
like, really, like that.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I
You
had
forget because for us it's just yeah.
yeah. I think the focus on being greater kind of like sometimes take away from you looking back and looking at these moments. That's why conversations like this are very very important because our aim is to inspire and actually tell stories and understand that no matter where you're from, you can actually do what you want to do. For me, I mean, you came to my hood December. You saw where I'm from. If
Yeah,
if I had to tell people, even now when I tell people what I have done and I tell them where I'm from, they still don't believe that I'm from that place. Not because people from that place can't do it. It's just that I went to something that I fought everybody. I fought the community. I fought my mother to tell them this is for me, and people were just like, nah, you can't be doing this you just want to be drinking, smoking, taking drugs. And I was like, no, I know this is what for me. And now I see a lot of people kind of like giving respect, in terms of like, oh, okay, cool, you've been doing this, it's been 10 years and all of that, working with people and bands. And I never used to look at it until people just come and kind of like, yo, you were staying in the presidential suite in Zambia for 6 weeks with the president,
yeah,
it's things like that. You check what I mean. But in that journey, I hear you finding bands and people to do you think, because for me what happened is when I was doing a lot of live, I realized that where I wasn't really helping people that I wanted to help. I wanted to get into the indie market because I felt like there was really talent that if they were given the same opportunity and the same things the people I was helping at the time had, the world could see other things. Do you feel the same way?
100%. The sad thing is we never stop learning. People want to say, nah, I'm graduated, got my PhD, I'm done, whatever.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
never stop
No,
learning.
you can't. You never.
And I mean, you know this better than everyone else, but like my mentor, our mentor, Crystal, he's always learning, he's always bringing something new to the table.
Every
And
day.
when I look at him, I think about Mr. Live. But to see him shift from that industry and do a complete 360 and go into TV and go into films and so forth, I was like, maybe there is something there. Maybe focusing too much on just carrying speakers and making sure this is done is not the way to actually get things done.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds exotic when you're like, nah, I got a hug from Rihanna, but then people don't understand that that hug from Rihanna came because you're carrying 55 speakers up to where it's like there's glamour to it, there's the hard work and everything. And
It
when I
pays
started
off.
seeing that, I started
Pays off.
yeah, I started branching out exactly, and that's where you actually start to find a lot of the other things that I mean, you mentioned about like even with my gaming and enthusiasm towards that.
Yeah, yeah.
I started moving towards other avenues to actually try and actually
Yeah.
do more sound.
Now that you're
And
talking about
and
that, now that you're talking about that
you
gaming,
find things, you find things in people across the board. So, uh, yeah, I feel like away from live, there's a lot where you can help people across the board.
yeah,
It's just the way it is.
it's which is why we're having this conversation. Me myself, I had to find. I always say we're living in a generation where you need to be multi-skilled. We're gonna get to a point where companies are not gonna pay people to come to a 9 to 5. They're gonna pay you per project. They're gonna pay you for what you do, no matter what company it
Yeah.
is. If you are working from home, you're doing bank transaction for a bank, you're gonna pay paid on how much transactions you make. So the efficiency of you doing it, you're gonna get. That's how I look at it. So I found ways besides, for example, just doing live. I can't right now. Most of freelance engineers, which is bad our industry because of the coronavirus. We at home, we're sitting at home. If you're a freelancer, even if you work for a company, they're not making money. You check what I
Mm.
mean? So how I found ways as an engineer to always make sure that I can stay afloat. I can stay afloat. I'm not surviving. I don't have everything that I wish I had, but by sharing information and having people around you, you can find ways to kind of like survive, which is not only just in your niche or your industry. It can be anything. But how do you feel about diversifying your skills and just making sure that you stay skilled?
It's quite big. I mean, we're not getting any younger, And
Of
with
course.
that being said, you always need to think about the legacy that you leave behind and who you're leaving it for. You know, I talk a lot about my mentor, about Krista and how he taught me this and that. But you also look at the fact that Krista's father's an engineer, and
Yeah.
as much as he didn't get special treatment for anything, that legacy flipped over to him so that he could become maybe even better than his own dad.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and that's what you always have to look at. You always have to look at the fact that if if I'm a good engineer, what else can I actually add to what I'm doing to benefit me in the long run? Or what can
Mm.
I leave behind? What can I learn to maybe even find yourself a lot more free?
Yeah.
Like you said with the gaming thing, I started gaming because I felt like I was trapped. I felt like every single time someone spoke to me, it was either about a live gig or I'm missing a master
Or the plug-in.
yeah, or a plugin. And if I could take the same thing, which is audio, like I'm fascinated with audio. I remember playing a bunch of games and thinking to myself, how does that sound stick there? Like how does that happen? How does it pan on its own? Like as I'm playing it. From that, it builds a deeper love for something as simple as just the sound.
Yeah.
Whereas before I was interested in seeing the live gigs and seeing all the superstars and so forth. But now, I'm actually more interested in actually creating sounds,
Yeah.
and you know,
And one thing that some conversations, for
yeah,
people who don't know, you're very big in teaching. If you don't know, this guy is a
yeah,
lecturer. You're very big in teaching. I remember when we were having conversation, we were talking about developing a hub and developing like a gaming. I like the fact that because we're generation, we're a different generation. For us, we were not taught like pirates. We were told we need to share information for us to get more information. For you to
yeah,
learn, you need to be willing to share information. That's how I got into lecturing. I think that's how you
yes,
got into lecture, because we don't really stand in front of students and lecture. We have conversations with students about what they need to know. So most of the students kind of like feel like every time when they come into class, they're going to have a big brother conversation about whatever it is in the industry and making it exciting. How do you feel about sharing information? How do you feel about people who still feel like, sharing information, you have to pay your dues and don't want to have this community where we have free information?
I believe that free information is the only way that the world lies. If you haven't learned that because of COVID-19, then there's something seriously wrong with it. You know, like
Oh,
when
God.
I think about it, the mere fact that right now, yeah, I even forgot the current time. Now you could literally do an entire course and come out of this with 2 degrees if you
Yeah,
want.
yeah,
And because of that, like people need to remember that information is always free.
yeah,
When you talk about lecturing or teaching, we're not talking about just giving someone information. You're talking about taking that information that you're giving them and putting at least, showing them why it's important or how it actually all works. So for me, I've always believed that if I can actually give you information, I will give you information. So even with most of my platforms, like the other day, I started my new gaming platform, and the
yeah,
gaming platform is there because I used to coach a couple of kids in games that I was really bad at. And now
yeah,
I'm like, instead of just making the kids pay for something, why not just put something up online that everyone can have access to? Because at the end of the day, if 10 people know how to do one thing versus one person is paying, that means that there's 10 people who will still credit you for something that you did. At the end of the day, there's 10 people who could become better than you, and maybe you added some sort of value to their lives.
mm,
I started lecturing because I literally want the next person that walks out of my classroom to be better than me.
yeah.
If
And
you can do that for me, that's the crux of it.
I was actually sitting down and looking back at people that we have actually lectured, man. I think I nearly cried, man, just looking at how much,
Yeah,
especially, I'm not gonna lie to anybody. For me, I always root for the underdog. Everybody knows me. I'm always gonna root for the underdog. I'll put myself on the line and I know you do the same thing. And I've seen guys who came
yeah,
to ASC or come to school and they just have the passion, feel like they're not gonna get through because it's too much information. All we had to do was just make them love what they were doing, and they keep
yeah,
on doing it. And I was looking, man, even the people you have worked with and everybody, like, I can right
bro.
now, each and every industry where there's entertainment or there's sound, there's probably somebody who probably came through. It's either they started with us or they came through our system. I'm not gonna say our system, but we had something to do with them being
Yeah,
in the industry.
yeah. It's yeah. It's shocking to see sometimes. I mean, the other day, I'm out there trying to learn something on YouTube, and I see Z. I'm just gonna say Z because
Yeah,
it is Z at the end of the day. And I'm
Z.
looking at how he's speaking about Zinzwalak, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Z, Amanda Black's engineer,
yeah, 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 yeah.
and he's going in and he's talking about how he mixes and where he gets this feel. And at that moment when he's talking, I remember the first time I actually noticed him mixing something in V1, and he looked as if he was scared, but like at the same time he looked very confident.
Yeah,
And when I looked at his interview, the mere fact that what he was speaking about and what I remember wasn't that different shows you that from a very early age, anyone who walks through those doors, if you've got a little passion, you can actually become whatever you want.
I just,
There's no, it, it brings you to you look at some of the people that actually are in the industry and what they're doing,
yeah,
and all you can do is just be proud.
yeah,
That's it.
yeah. I always say, um, once you get given an opportunity, it's all up to you, and opportunities are always gonna come. It's up to you to see an opportunity. Anything is an opportunity if you're willing to look. Even where you fail, you learn something.
Yeah,
And we can sit here and talk and sound perfect in this journey we're talking about, and actually doing all of this ups and downs. It comes with a lot of stress sometimes. Sometimes as a, as,
yeah,
a- as a freelance engineer, you're probably sitting there not knowing where your second gig is coming from, or your next mix, your next master who's gonna
yeah,
be your next client. So with that, I think being strong, just having people around you, having people that you can talk to is very, very important. I think that's what our relationship is. Because I remember when I left, I got into my own depression things, and then I left. I went home for 2 years. You kept in touch, even though we didn't talk all the time. You just made sure that you checked on me
yeah.
because you understood that I needed to kind of like go and detox. And then when I
Mm,
came back, you were still there for me to make sure that I'm all right, and I can still get into the industry and communicate with people because I was actually out. So it's not always peaches and creams. It's gonna come with a lot of like difficulties, man, and those challenges. Some of them are people inflicting the challenges because of what you believe in, and you don't want to do something, but that's how it's supposed to be done, you know. And then sometimes it's just the stress of we want to be successful. Everybody wants to be successful. We work really hard, sleepless nights, and it gets frustrating sometimes when you do things and then you don't, it doesn't look like it's working, so you just have to look back and look at, oh, it's actually working, I'm just maybe being too hard on myself.
Yeah. I mean, look, to be fair, I'm not going to talk about how many times I've actually failed trying to do something,
Yeah, yeah,
because there's a lot, you know. And at the same time, there's very big ups, there's very big downs. And I've always said that for me personally, my professionalism is always key. I'm always going to be professional when it comes to how I get my business done and how that comes across to my clients. But life is hard, man, and life being
yeah,
that hard, you always have to remember the people that have either been behind you or helped you in some sort of way to actually get that message across to the people. Like I 100% believe that in this game that we call it, unfortunately we don't necessarily have the blueprint to tell us what's going to pop up, what's going to happen. And even with this whole COVID thing, I've spoken to people who
yeah,
don't know, like what's going to happen tomorrow.
yeah,
They don't know how how you're going to buy a loaf of bread or how you're going to pay for electricity.
yeah,
But the one thing that you should know is that any skill that you have and any skill that you develop, you always have to find a different way to make it work.
make it
I'm not
work.
saying be a king finances or
Yeah,
be a creative king, but like make it work.
make
There's
it work.
always a gap in the market for something, and I always smile when I look across like a lot of things that I see, and you can see that people like Skinny MJ, for instance, who started
Yeah,
Rise Gen.
yeah,
It's just something that has been
inspirational.
needed, but like
Yo,
it's
dog,
inspirational.
listen to
Still
this.
find the gap, you know.
Dog, the way this is so inspirational, the people, Kwalang KRL audio, if you guys didn't know, you
And bro,
know
look at this, look at this, look at this, look at this, look at this. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah, this is the same thing I have. I'm looking for mine. There's somewhere here. I was using them now. Always use them. I can't lose them. That's one person
That's the
that
thing.
we were having conversations in passages, and he was asking these questions, because he had a dream. He had a dream of doing what he wanted to
Correct.
do. Skinny MJ, that's JFK from ASC, man.
Hey,
He's doing great things. Paul, you remember Mongezi from Scom Plus?
Complas,
That
like
kid is
it's
doing
all
some
of the stuff.
art. Yeah,
Wow,
with
bro.
Clary and these guys, winning awards
Daddy's
after
got
awards.
safters, bro.
Yeah, he's got
He's
two
got safters.
SAFTAs, man. You know what I'm saying? I've seen kids who have won summers. I've seen people. I'm so happy when I see these people becoming so successful because, it just means that, we're doing what we have to do. That's why we brought this platform here, because I wanted to reach and wider people who can't, some people who can't reach what we have. So for me, it's what I have. I want to share it with the people, what I do, which is what this YouTube page is all about. Just sharing information. Maybe there's a kid somewhere who has passion as me or you who wants to learn something, and they can come to a page and listen to two brothers who just had a dream, who had to fight battles with their parents, and get to a point where you owning Anderson Entertainment. You have artists that you're working with. This is something, if you tell somebody, they will tell you, you're talking about dreams. But our dreams, actually, what we wanted to do came through. We have to sleep again and dream again, because we wanted to own our own studios. We wanted to be able to mix. We wanted to do all of these shows, and we actually did, which is what frustrated me, because I felt like I hit a plateau where I was like, what's there to do? Because oh, okay, and then I had to reimagine and reinvent myself and find new ways to kind of like carry
Yes,
on.
yes. That you see that you said at the very end is the hardest one. Reinvention doesn't necessarily mean that something is broken and
Yeah,
it's defeated. It just means that, to put it bluntly, you're bored.
yeah,
And when you're bored, you make the dumbest decisions ever, and you end up sitting there thinking to yourself, actually, I shouldn't have done that.
yeah,
But in hindsight, if you can grow out of that, and you can make yourself see it in a different way. that's the best way to actually start something new. All of the people that I just spoke about right here all had to go through some sort of hardship before they
Of
could actually
course.
see that this is what I want to do, and in this avenue.
Yeah.
Not everyone's going to be generic. Not everyone is going to be by the book. Not everyone is going to be the same.
Yeah.
So it's always something where if you can't see a gap, that's for you. There's always going to be sheep. There's always going to be the shepherds,
Yeah.
and shepherds won't sit there and just let another dog tell them what to do.
Mm.
They'll sit there and they'll absorb what the other dog is doing and go and work with their own flock of sheep. It's
Oh.
always the case. So you know like I'm even seeing in the YouTube comments, right, Jeff, funny enough,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
people are actually talking about like it's insightful and it's great and so forth, and that's exactly it.
Yeah.
Like I've never shied away from difficult or hard conversations
No.
because you're gonna let gems out or secrets out or whatnot.
No.
This is what I do in my company. It's
Yeah.
what I do moving forward. Like you know, the one role model I never had discovered and I started loving was DJ Scoop, and
Yeah.
the guy speaks a lot, and the one thing that he's always said is that I will give you what you need
Shout
to
out.
survive. Yo, bro, mine is in the fridge. You see, if I could jump and go to the fridge, like
I
I
know.
jump on my coffee.
Hey, always stocked up, you know.
Yeah, bro. And the thing is, if he is able to give entrepreneurs, like a platform and free, advice every single day, what's stopping me from doing the same thing
Same
within
thing.
my own field?
Yeah.
Because if I can do that for someone else, it means that maybe I'll even listen to myself a little bit more. Because a lot of things that I think I've told people that I probably should have done myself.
Yeah.
So it's things like that where you learn as you grow, and if you don't learn and if you feel like you're stuck in your static, reinvent yourself,
Yeah, reinvent yourself. Yo, man,
find something new.
cool, cool. Very, very cool conversation. Now let's talk about projects you're working on. What is on the
Oh snap!
what's going down at Anderson Entertainment?
Yeah. Um, right now, about I'm about to just finish a few mixes for Zoo. She's got two banging songs coming out actually. I've been listening to them the past couple of days. I think I sent them to you to
Oh, well.
feel something. The big project I'm working on is with Nandi.
Oh,
Working
well.
on an album. If y'all don't know, she came out seventh for the year 2019. Right on Slick Online,
Yeah,
and
man.
yeah, shout out.
Shout out.
Like now she's working on an album, and I mean she's got an EP, she's got singles out and so forth. And the album is very different. So unlike everyone else that I've
Can't
worked with,
wait to hear that.
she's very different. She's very different in terms of how she works and
Oh,
the workflow. So it's a very different challenge.
well.
I believe by the end of this COVID,
Will be
we'll see what's up.
nice. Will be nice.
Yeah,
Can't wait
yeah,
for the nice champs, man.
definitely.
Yeah, and then for the playlist, man. There's probably people watching right now across the board, wanting to know how do I
Oh
get my
yeah.
song? How do I get my songs on the playlist? And what before you answer that one, I just want you to give what do you actually look for in a song when you put it in a playlist? What is it that catches you so the artist can kind of like understand?
Any song is good, right? But there's always certain things that come from a body of work which might appeal to one person, not another one.
Yeah.
Excuse me. If I can sit here and off the top of my head say something like, "In my hood, I'm a gangster's son,"
In
and know
my
that that's a
hood of
song,
the
that
chosen one.
yeah,
Smash.
that's a song I can actually sing like that. It might not sound like a radio hit. However, if it can catch a single person just like listening to it once or anything of that nature, that's what we're looking for.
I won.
The songs that a lot of people think might be their singles and might be the banging songs on their projects and so forth. I will tell you now, send your music to me, in link. I think in the description, someone is going to leave
Yeah, I'm
my
gonna
email
leave.
address.
Yeah, I'll
I'll
give them
just
the
leave
details.
a link to the playlist. Send your music across. Send the links that you have to your music across and whatnot. And have a listen, because to tell you the truth, that's the only way we can actually help each other. You know, I think in this lifetime, there's only one artist where I did that and it didn't necessarily work because the single that I picked was a bit too emotional and soft for what I actually had. But every other time, like having a different pair of ears and a different perception to your music will always show you how things might be different.
And that,
Case in point, so case in point, like Nandile,
yeah,
for a very long time, Nandile had her EP out. Her favorite track on the EP is Anomaly. You know,
Yeah.
it's a very powerful song. It's got a powerful message.
We
Yet
like
from
bar
day
for
one,
bar.
I think everyone told her that when she says I got a con," like it's raw. It's insane. It's dope. And when you say that to someone and they actually do listen, you start to notice that things fall into place. So it's just that and actually helping each other across the board. So if anyone wants to jump on the playlist, I always give people at least one track, at least one try, because you never know what people like. You
Yeah.
know, um, funny enough, speaking about that, it's like that kid. This little verse of mine, let it shine, Empire, man,
Patch.
and Danny B,
Cooler box.
and oh God, bro,
I discovered that song from
and
the playlist and I called that kid straight away. I'm like,
oh
yo,
man, like
yo, hey man.
yo, and it's things like that where you hear a song like that, and it's been out for years, bro,
Yeah,
and
and
you're like
then
sitting on
it's
some, how are people not playing this, and
yes,
just to put on a platform where I can put it high up on a list. Someone who's listening to a playlist can actually jump through it. I mean, I saw that song getting so much exposure after this. I'm not saying it's because of me, but I'm just saying that once people actually start finding things and start hearing things, it makes everything a
yeah.
little bit better.
Yeah, just to add on that, what I see with Anderson Entertainment and a lot of people that are around me, what we're trying to create is it's an economy for ourselves. You see, if you have 50 songs in a playlist of different artists, that's avenue for a lot of people. Those 50 artists are probably going to need photographers. They're going to need videographers. They
Yep.
need engineers, publicists, managers, road managers, all of those people.
Yeah.
This is what we do in this platform for. This is what we want you to go discover these people. If you find the talent, you're a photographer, call the artist, link the artist, ask us for the Instagram, start talking to the artist. We don't need anything from, we don't need even to be the middleman. We're gonna bring most of these people that I know here. All you have to do is communicate with these people. If you feel like this person, I can make a dope beat for them. If you're a producer, communicate with them. Do that. If you feel like, yeah, just make sure this is what this is all about. Just making sure that we can share all of those skills. And I found that in the playlist now, there's a lot of artists who are starting to collaborate because they've started hearing each other on the playlist and they like each other's music.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's one of the coolest things I've actually seen. I'm not name dropping anything, but I am. Like I was speaking to Shabs yesterday, and
Shout
he
out to
was the first
Shabzi.
person to actually say,
That album
shout out to
fire.
Shabs, bro. You don't need to go listen to Nomvola. Like,
Yeah, that
he
album
gave me
fire.
his top 3 tracks, but like, I picked tracks that yeah, again. But anyway, I was chatting to him, and he was speaking about like how playlists are shaping and changing the radio industry, and how that works across. But the one thing that gave me hope again was him listening to the playlist. The first thing he said to me is, "Yo, who's that?" And the mere fact that I could say to him, "Yo, I know that kid.
Yeah.
This is who that kid is."
Oh, you
And
wanna
for
link
him
up?
to actually be that interested and actually want to link up, that's why this platform exists.
Yeah.
It exists so that if an AK is listening and he's like, "Yo, man, that Danny B kid just sounds dope," I can be like, "Yo,
We need a Denny beat.
just holla at your boy." You know what I mean? You need
Yeah.
a Danny, you need a beat like that. You need that. And it's always the case.
Mm.
I might not know everyone on that list personally, but if I found it, I can find it.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Cool, man. And then on the gaming side, what can people catch up on? Are you streaming live? Are you gonna give us some snippets?
Yeah,
What's up?
yeah. I mean, the other day I whooped you.
We're not supposed to break that up. We're not supposed to.
Trying to build that, but what I end up doing is I've got a completely new page now where
Aware.
it's dedicated solely to gaming.
Yeah.
And only gaming, you can actually check out all the handles that you've actually been seeing on solely by Andy. And on that platform, what I'm gonna try and do is I'm gonna be playing my favorite games, and I want people obviously to send their lists and their shoutouts, but it's making tours, like walkthroughs, how games are played. I mean, I'm an average gamer. I don't have all the time in the world. I've got other things to do, but like when I can stream, I will stream. And if you're interested in random games and games that you don't know of, and you might think that you might like pop into the page, send an email. If you're stuck on something, some specific game, send us the link, a shout out, whatnot, and
Get
try my
support.
best to find out how that get support, get that kind of like working through.
Yeah. Cool, man.
I mean, that's where I guess the hub will be for most of my gaming stuff.
Yeah. So one thing I would like to say, like for example, what you have taught me is I've understood the chain, the machine. For example, a lot of artists, we don't really have the money to pay the videographer. So what I understand is, if you understand how the chain works, as creatives, we're no longer waiting for people to give us money. We print our own money nowadays. And that money comes from online, being online. If I have a video out which was shot by a director and the video gets the hits and the views from the people, next time I can get the money to pay the director to shoot a better video so we can build up and start printing this money and it comes back into
Yeah.
the system. The video is going to push the streams. The streams is pushing me getting booked, is pushing me going to radio. All of those things are linked together for everybody to get paid. You check what I mean? If you're a makeup artist and you work on the video and we all into this together, when it makes money, we're investing back, and then we're going to get to a point where we start getting money from that, because we have to print our own money. Ain't nobody coming to us and giving us money unless you have people who are willing to invest. But for some of us, we have to do with what we have. So you find a strategy of working with people and actually just making the clicks run.
Exactly. I mean, you couldn't have said it better. It's as simple as saying 5 views could change whether or not you can become a millionaire
Yeah.
or be broke.
Yeah.
That's how deep it is.
Yeah.
Because the machine is well oiled, and the only thing that I do and that we're trying to actually get across is that if you understand how the machine works, you can find a place where you can slot in, and where you slot in is where you make your money.
Yeah.
And it's that deep. If you can take it to the bare bones, we all need money. We can all make money.
Cool.
That's it.
So to cause some controversy, this is for the trend. Out of the head, I didn't tell you I'm gonna do this. This is our first episode, so I'm gonna do this. This surprise, straight from the head. Top female artist in SA.
Elaine.
Top male artist in SA.
Fudge. Yes, sir. Kabza.
Gabs at the Smalls.
Yeah.
Our favorite engineer,
Rough.
Ralph ATM.
Yep.
Oh shit, I didn't even think you say Ralph.
Look, man, I don't make the same style of music as he does, but
You
the
like
boy
it?
got mad skills.
Oh, shit, I feel the same way. Favorite South African concert?
Favorite South African concert, like
Yep.
of all time, or
In the past years, any you went to, or any that you like the way they do things?
shit. I'm gonna be biased. Like, to tell the truth, I don't actually buy tickets anymore, so the gigs I go to, I'm working at. But Tony Thomas's launch, actually, album launch for Minette.
I'm guessing that's your favorite performer too.
Tell you the truth, she's my favorite mainstream performer. Favorite performer is always gonna be Zoo.
Okay, yeah. Zoo made me cry. I didn't want to say that, but yeah.
We ain't saying none of that.
Yeah, let's say that. I had to bring it up because I knew you were gonna come with it. But okay, favorite DAW.
Pro Tools.
Favorite mixer. Live mixer.
Soundcraft. Soundcraft.
Program drums or live drums.
I can make it work.
Cool. If you had to be given one thing, if you were mixing drums and you had to be given one plug-in to mix the drums, what plug-in would it be? CLA drums. Ooh.
Yeah, I have
sauce.
to have the CLA drums.
Sauce. Thank you very much, my G. Any last remarks? Anything you want to say to the people?
Yeah, man. To the people, I'm gonna say is that, look, supporting indie and supporting local is two different things. You can support local and you can listen to the radio and everything else, but supporting indie means that you're actually going out there and finding these gems of people. There's people who've been in the industry for so long, and it's always sad to see that people don't actually give them the respect that they need. So because of that, like, going indie is going to be the best way moving forward. I mean, there's a kid. I forgot. I actually needed to put a song on the playlist, but I forgot. My bad. Exclusive Sage.
Yeah.
He's a smart kid, but like, I never expected the type of music that he makes, and it makes me kind of like view things differently because I actually know the person. But if I found Exclusive Sage without knowing who he was, I probably would have given him more respect for his craft and his music. And that's why I say to people, just find music. Like, you cannot believe, like, there is something for you out there. I promise you. if you feel like you only listen to American music because of A, B, C, and D, there's something like that down here back home. I promise you,
Oh well.
somewhere, somehow. Yeah.
Oh well. So, where can people go for your services? Uh,
For my services, I think there'll be a link in the bio
yeah,
to my website.
yeah.
Website, you can just hit contact
So,
us for anything. You want to submit beats, you wanna link up, you wanna make meetings, all of that. You can just check handles behind me. I think you can look at the Instagram handle there, the Smoke with Andy. You can pop DMs, do what needs to be done across the board that way.
cool, man. Thank you very much for being on the first episode of the indie
Yeah,
stage.
man. I feel
Legendary.
really honored, man.
Yeah, you're
I
gonna
feel
be.
like the
You,
state is gonna be really
there's a lot I wanna talk to you about. It's just that time is not our side, so we're gonna make another episode so we can have these conversations. But I thank you very much for everybody who tuned in. Thank you for giving us your time, and thank you very much for helping the people and actually sharing information. And just making sure that everybody stay cool. For everybody who's watching, everybody who shared this, thank you for joining, and make sure that you subscribe to the pages. Go subscribe at Soul by Andy at the back there. You can see for any gaming tips, and then you can subscribe to Anderson Entertainment. You can find some entertainment. I went there. I found some live videos, some gospel stuff. I found some hip hop stuff. I found across the board, just like the playlist. Go listen to the playlist. Make sure that you follow him on Instagram. Make sure that you communicate with him. And then until next time, for now, this is it. Goodbye. Love you too much.
shout out.
I work.
Word.
Shit.
Bro, let's go strong. Oh shit. That was long.
Shit. I didn't realize. I only realized now. Shit.